So welcome again to the Mini Pea Pod, and we are all about success here, about successful life, about successful everything. And so I wanted to pause for a moment today to talk with you about some people who've done some big old things, as we would say, and some people who are doing some big things even now, and about what I'll refer to as God's 13th disciple, and some other things along the way. So I hope you enjoyed today's broadcast, and thank you again for joining. And so if we're still here, if you're still here, then you can rest assured that God has plenty of things that He would like for us to do. And there are plenty of things that we can accomplish in this life. So we'll launch this morning with a question that God asked a man by the name of Ezekiel. So Ezekiel was presented with a vision of a valley of dry bones all throughout the valley. And God asked him one simple question. He was like, Ezekiel, can these bones live? And so the answer that Ezekiel gave was, God, you know. So we know the answer is yes, because life is for the living. And what God instructed Ezekiel to do was to speak life to these bones. And so what I'll say is that in this life we need vision more than a lot of things. And I heard a speaker say this week is that how we see ourselves is basically how our lives will be. And so it's important how we see ourselves as older adults, as younger adults, or as adults, period. And so we want to talk a little bit about that today during the podcast. So today I want to talk about, again, some folks who did some big old things. And one of those persons was a man by the name of Abraham, who was 75 years old when God spoke to him and asked him, hey, Abe, I want you to go on this journey. And so we hear him, we see him packing up his things and getting ready to go. He took his wife, took his nephew, and yeah, I don't know if he should have, but he took his nephew and some other things with him. But he's 75, and we don't hear him say, hey, I'm 75, I can't go. But no, he actually just packed up and left. And so Abraham did some big, Abe, as we call him, did some big old things by just packing up and being willing to go to another place that God said that He would show him, even at age 75. And so we see he and his wife doing big old things and doing great things and some interesting things all the way up until, around the age of 100 and beyond. So I just wanted to mention him today to inspire someone who may be around 95 or 105, 2005, whatever the case may be, that, if we're still here, God still has great things for us to do. He's still speaking to us. He's still leading and guiding us along the way. And so I also wanted to pause to talk about someone who actually lived, more recently, and her name was Cicely Tyson. And so what I love about Cicely is that, Miss Tyson, is that she lived life to the full. And she was writing memoirs up until, this year, actually. And so when it was released. And so she's done some great things, and she's always been about just living life. And so I wanted to allow her to inspire us in a lot of ways. And she actually only lived to be 96. But in those 96 years, I think she did some big things. And so let that be an inspiration for all of us. Let's look at her life and look at the life of Abraham, as we formally know him. And let that be an inspiration to us as we look forward to the things that God would have us to do in life. And so as we fast forward today, I just wanted to mention a couple of people who are currently doing big things. And one of them is someone that we know and have loved for years. And he actually, at age 90, has a movie that's dropping today. And his name is James Earl Jones. And so he's starring in a movie with Eddie Murphy, Coming to America too, at age 90. So that is definitely a big thing. And I love to see him have longevity in the industry. But also just someone who's not a star, but someone who I know personally who's actually doing big things at age 91. So she's actually a year older than James Earl Jones, and she is a woman who's been, an inspiration to me ever since I met her. And she's been involved in several. She travels and does all kinds of things, and she kind of keeps life moving in her own life, per se. And so her name is Doris Stooks. And one thing I love about Doris is that she doesn't let any grass grow under her feet, so to speak. And so I had a chance to speak with her just earlier this week, and actually late last week. And I just asked her, I said, what would you have me to say to anyone who's listening to my podcast? And she said two things. She said, when you retire, she said, tell them that I said, don't retire and do nothing. She said, take the skills that you have and you utilize those in the community. She said, we need those skills. And so, and the other thing that she shared, and that was good advice, by the way. And so the other thing that she shared real quickly is that she works with a program for youth. And someone approached her one day and asked the question if the program was designed to give persons of a certain age group, things to do. And her response was classic. She was like, I have plenty of things to do. She said, I'm here just to make sure the kids get the things that they need and that they're learning the things that they need to learn. And so I love her spirit and her personality, and I love her commitment to just being a helpful person in the community, to being a servant of God, and to just really living life to the full. And so she's definitely an inspiration to me and a mentor to me in that way. And so definitely wanted to introduce you guys to her today, and to just remind those persons who may already know her of the things that she's doing, and how she's keeping life moving. And so one other thing that I wanted us just to take a moment to discuss while we're here is that God approached a man by the name of Elijah, and he asked him the question. He was like, Elijah, what are you doing here? And at that point, Elijah was kind of hiding out from life in a cave, and God approached him and asked him the same question twice. He's like, what are you doing here? And so we can ask ourselves that question today, and I'm not sure what the response will be, but if it's something unfavorable, then I think I just would encourage everyone to get up and to, get moving so we can have a better answer to that question. And so finally, one of the things I wanted to talk about is someone that I really, I guess, nicknamed the 13th disciple. I was listening to Michael Todd yesterday, and he was talking about the account of the rich young ruler and the Word of God. And so it just kind of jumped out at me, and just how he phrased it. But, and I guess in retrospect, I was like, my goodness, that man was like the 13th disciple who actually turned Christ down. And so if you're not familiar with the story, it's not, I guess, a famous story, but it's about Christ approaching a man and asking him to basically, come follow me. And the man, he actually didn't do it. He actually turned Christ down. And so one of the reasons why it took place is that he actually had something that he held more closely to him than God. And so Christ had asked him a series of questions about, his life, and he's done, X, Y, and Z well. He's accomplished this and done that. But at the end of the day, Christ was like, okay, he really asked him a question to determine if there was something that he valued more than his relationship with God. And so I say that to say that there are several persons who are aged 100, 110, 90, whatever the case may be, who are holding, some things that we may not need to hold, that we value more than God. And so the thing I saw, and I'll share with you on Facebook, it says, if you get greater wealth, don't build a higher fence, build a bigger table. And so there are some of us who have achieved a great wealth, and of whatever age. And so I invite you that as you have achieved and you have the wealth to actually help someone else who may be 100, 110, whatever the case may be, get to the things that they're trying to get to a better place in life where they can be more vibrant, or whatever the case may be. I would say, don't build a bigger fence, build a bigger table and invite persons in to dine, so to speak, with you, and to share in the things that God has blessed you with. And so with that, I'll say that, helping others to be more vibrant and to be a part of the things that we're doing is a message that goes not just for people who have, crossed the line of 100 years of age, or whatever the case may be. It's, that is something that all of us can do. So as we're doing a movement and we're doing, fighting for justice, or whatever the case may be, with our words and whatever way God gives us to, don't assume that a person does not want to participate because you think that it may be something that they may not be interested in. So I think persons of all ages are interested in getting out and seeking justice. I think persons of all ages are interested in getting out, hey, just to enjoy life. I mean, as much as we're able in the climate that we're in. So anything that we enjoy, I'm sure we can find persons of all ages who enjoy that. So let's not make the assumption that persons do not want to take part in whatever's taking place. And so as a person who's, over age 100, over age, 95, whatever the case may be, if there is something that you would like to engage in and you can't find it, then I would encourage you to simply create that. Start a new company, start a new brand, a new line of clothing for persons of all ages, all sizes, whatever the case may be. Run for president. Run to be the governor. Um, Start a sports league. Persons who go out and enjoy sporting events. Once we're able to get out and about. So I encourage you, if there's nothing there that's interests you, just create that. And literally, the world is yours. And so I think about President Biden. He's 78. I believe. And so he became the president of the United States. I think about Bernie Sanders, who's been out there, fighting for the things he values for years. And he's actually 79 and still out there doing, great things for the community or whatever the case may be. And there are no perfect people, don't get me wrong, but he's still in the fight. For the things that he believes in. And so I encourage everyone, I say, keep it moving, stay vibrant, go after the things that you care about, and live life to the full. And as James Brown said, get on the good foot. So if you got one foot that's bothering you, use the other one. If you got one hand that's bothering you, use the other one. And if you're like Elijah and you need someone to come along with you to help, just, trust God that God will send that. But don't sit around and just wait on that. Just get out and get there and trust God to meet you where you are. So be vibrant like Abraham. Be ready and be willing to be used by God. Hey, if he says go and you're 95, hey, go. If he says go and you're 75, hey, go. If he says go and you're 25, hey, guess what? Go. And keep in mind all along, you know what? Hey, God is much older than you are. And much older than all of us. And so if he's still in the game and if he's still making things happen, then let that be an inspiration for us all. And so I thank you all today for joining the Mini Pea Pod. And as we like to do every week, I would like to spotlight someone who's doing great things in the community. And so who I would like to spotlight this week is a young man by the name of Cedric Goodrich, who came up with an idea last year around Christmas time to just go out to the local grocery store and to actually hand out $100 grocery gift cards to persons over the age of 65. And so the thing that was most touching about the event that I actually was fortunate enough to participate in is that the show of kindness actually brought tears to our neighbors' eyes. And so they were so appreciative that someone would actually think to help out in that way. And so I wanted to spotlight him today. He has actually set a goal to do it all again this year, to offer 100 persons $100 gift cards. And so it's quite a goal. And so, but with our help, he can certainly get it done. And so a big applause for Cedric and the work that he's doing. And it is definitely a wonderful cause. And so if you would like to donate, I will certainly drop his Cash App account down in the comment section. So please donate today and don't wait. And so the goal is just to get everything in place and to get all the money that's needed. And so he can make the event whatever, it needs to be. And so again, it was a great event. It was the best part of Christmas. I keep telling people about that, and it really was. And so it's a great cause. So please, you don't have to. If you can't do the total $100 gift card, hey, give 50. 50 plus someone else's 50 makes 100, and 25 plus someone else's 25 does. If you add four of them together, then it equals $100 is what I'm trying to say as well. So please don't hesitate to donate. I'm sure it's tax deductible, but it is for a great cause for persons in the community. And again, it brought tears to their eyes, and it was a great event. So thank you again, Cedric, for the great work that you're doing. Definitely raised well by Miss Eva Bell, and I'm sure she's proud of all of you guys. And so again, thank you for your work.
Ho, ho, ho. Girl, I'm in love with you. But this ain't the honeymoon. Past the infatuation.
And so thank you again for joining the Mini Pea Pod. And I wanted to leave you with another comment. And so something that someone said to me. So no matter if you're 100 years old or 190, you're only old. And I'll put that in air quotes. You're only old if you want to be. And so I thought that was a quite profound comment to hold on to. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. So we're only old if we want to be. And so life is for the living, and God has given us life. So choose life by every means possible. And I wanted to also say just one last thing is that I remember being at dinner with my great grandmother who was 101, and her being seated beside someone who was really, kind of complaining about life and, and aging and things like that. And so my great grandmother turns over and she looks at her and she's like, what, honey, how old are you? And she said, I'm 80. And so my great grandmother's reply was, you're a young thing. And so, and the lady, I don't know if she really knew how to reply to that. And so, but it's all relative. And so my great grandmother again was 101 years old. And so 21 years older than the person she was seated beside. And she was someone who actually read the front page of the newspaper, talk to you about what was going on for current events all of her days. And so I just encourage everyone to live the life that God intends for us to live. And again, God is a whole lot older than we are, and he's still in the game. So please, join him in that and enjoy life and be everything that God created us to be, and check in with him daily. As I say, ask God, how we should live and what we should be doing, and enjoy the life that he has given us.
We're just ordinary people. We don't know which way to go, 'cause we're ordinary people. Maybe we should take it slow. Take it slow. Oh. This time we'll take it slow. Take it slow. Oh. This time we'll take it slow. This ain't a movie, no fairy tale conclusion, y'all. It gets more confusing every day. Sometimes it's heaven sent, then we head back to hell again. We kiss, then we make up on the way.